Okay, I'm going to do a book review today for you. Thank you for coming back and watching me. So this is The Shadow Glass by Joss Winning. This is effectively Dark Crystal, Labyrinth, and 80s pop culture mixed in with a massive dose of horror in our world. It is so much fun. I love this. If you're the kind of person that thought Ready Player One was laying a bit thick with the 80s pop references, this might be more to your taste because it's all the fantasy of that era. Like I say, it's massively influenced by Jim Henson and the whole cultness that comes around his films, and it's really warm and fuzzy, and I kind of want the film now, thank you very much, because this was just so enjoyable to read. So we follow Jack. He is the son of the man who directed and created The Shadow Glass, which was a film in the 80s. It died a death at the time, but came back as a cult revival when it was released on video in the early 90s, as many of the films of the 80s were. Jack, of course, only knows The Shadow Glass as the film that kind of destroys his family. He drove his dad to alcoholism, they didn't have a great relationship, and he just basically distanced himself from the whole thing. His father recently dies, and so Jack goes back to the house that he really has ignored for the last decade of his life in order to make some money, because he's in dire straits and he knows people will buy the props of the puppets from the show. And then the puppets arrive. Think He-Man and the Masters of the Universe film where those characters come into our world. Yeah. That's very much what happens in here. And they have to go on this epic quest in order to save the land of Erie, which was the land in the Shadow Glass, and they've got to find the Shadow Glass and also stop our world being destroyed by the evil that has invaded it. It's so good, really dark, slightly disturbing in places. This is not one for the, oh, I just want a cute fluffy thing. No, 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 this goes there. This goes there a lot. There are high stakes in here, but there are some really lovely touching character moments, and also kind of this realization that people love things for a reason, that they feel safe in those worlds, that they feel accepted, that they embrace those lands, and the whole expanding of films and that. So think Star Wars and how there was an expanded universe of books and graphic novels and artwork and fan art, and then the games and everything. This kind of explores that a little bit because of the same thing that happens with the fans of the Shadow Glass, that they've expanded the world. And it's how that can be a good thing, and how controlling that level of creativity is not a good thing, to allow people to be free in their expression of love for something is wonderful. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. This has kind of been like a dark horse. It's been around for a couple of years now. I mean, obviously I've got it in paperback. And I don't think enough people are aware that actually this is really good. The students at school actually said, oh, it's got like Stranger Things vibes. And it's like, it's kind of got that 80s nostalgia, but it's obviously set in our world. But it's very much a love letter to Jim Henson and the Dark Crystal and Labyrinth and everything that Jim Henson stood for. I love this book. I can't recommend this enough. This is certainly something quirky, something you're not going to read elsewhere. And I actually really recommend you give it a go. It is really quite something. There we go. So that's The Shadow Glass. Have you read it? No spoilers below, but highlight your favourites. That would be really, really lovely. Thank you so much. And any other things that have that 80s nostalgia. I don't know what it is about the 80s at the moment. It really highlights how depressing 2020s have been when we're looking back to the 80s, which frankly I grew up in as a little girl, and it was not all sunshine and lollipops, people. It was pretty grim. But apparently we're in this massive 80s revival, so that's how dire the current state of the world is. Thank you, people. There we go. Okay, so as always, thank you so much for watching. Happy reading and take care.